They told us the world ends at Antarctica, that beyond the ice is just frozen wasteland. But ancient maps say otherwise. Whole continents erased from history, civilizations we were never meant to know. What if space isn't up, but out, left, right, far beyond the walls of ice that cage us in? Welcome to the Forbidden Zones. Welcome to the land behind the ice wall. This is Cold as Hell TV, and we've gathered the most viral TikToks on the land beyond the ice wall, ancient maps, lost worlds, and theories that'll make you question everything. You're about to watch what they tried to delete from your
Is there
For You
any
page.
unexplored land left on this earth that might appeal to adventurous young Americans?
Yes, there is. And not up around the North Pole, because it's getting crowded up there now, because they find out it's really usable, not only to live in, but militarily. But strangely enough, there's left in the world today an area as big as the United States that's never been seen by a human being. And that's beyond the pole, on the other side of the South Pole, from Middle America. And I think it's quite astonishing that there should be an area as big as that unexplored.
That's a tremendous
So
challenge.
there's a lot of adventure left down at the bottom of the world.
Admiral, do you hope to see that?
I do.
There are no aliens. There's just the civilizations that live beyond the ice wall.
The hell you talking about?
See, they want you to believe that there's these alien civilizations out in the depths of outer space that may or may not be coming to get you, but it's just a facade. The reality is that there are simply civilizations beyond what we can observe, beyond the ice wall, right here on planet Earth, but just in regions we have been kept from seeing, kept from knowing about. These civilizations beyond the ice wall, as you could imagine, have technology far beyond what we can fathom, and so when they fly above us in their inconceivably advanced ships, we kind of misconstrue it with the idea of quote-unquote aliens from space, when in reality it's just advanced civilizations from Earth. But of course, the oligarchs want you to be scared and have this fear of the great unknown, and so they peddle this narrative about outer space and alien encounter theories. The whole time all of these other advanced beings are right here on Earth.
The hidden lands beyond the ice walls. Awakening truth. Let's have a little journey to the old map. Did you know that there are other worlds and more lands to explore?
Yo guys, you're not going to believe this, but they say this map right here is the real map that the powers that be have been keeping from us. And they say it's 178 worlds on this map. Let's get a closer look at this. So they say that we are in the middle, and that's the ice wall. And these are the lands beyond the ice wall. Now let's look at some of the names of these lands. So here's some lands on one side of the ice wall. Atum, Atien, that's the name of the ocean up there at the top, Ocean of Nu. Now here's the east side of the ice wall. You have this ocean and these lands right here. And here are some more lands. As you can see, Isis, Osiris, and check this out, guys, human colony. Now, this map is from this book called The Lands of Mars, 178 Worlds Under the Great Dome. You can get this book on Amazon. So guys, please do your own research. Check this out, because I know this sounds crazy. Go check out the book, do your research. Peace, get woke, and keep rising.
your attention for a minute, America. Have you ever been wondering about what's behind the ice walls? Now check this out. This guy right here got the maps of the ancient times. He finna break it down. Ooh-wee.
Okay, so let's talk about this in a lot more detail. Okay, so this is Earth right here, right? North, Central, South America, Africa. This is our one rotating sun. And this is the other district. It's still in our district, but, you know, this is our part of our realm. This whole thing is our realm right here. So the whole thing is our realm. Right here is Lilith's gates. This is Hades' gate. This is where Lilith's castle is at right here in this area. And you can, if we could really catch a boat here, the Ancestral Republic's right here. This land's Anak, this Ancestral Republic. They could really get a boat, go to here. But as soon as they get here, they got all these goons right here. This is Lilith's gates. They getting tore the hell up right here and pushed right back. So Elon wants to fly, but he can't fly, right? Because, you know, it's too far. You know, he can only fly probably to the Ancestral Republic. From the Ancestral Republic, he got to fly all the way. You know what I'm saying? He can't go this far. We don't have the capabilities to go to the lands of Mars. You know what I'm saying? From this area here. And plus, you got to deal with all these people here, so you can't stop and land. You stop and land, man, the Klingons is on your ass real quick. You know what I'm saying? So, and this whole land is a wasteland. You know what I'm saying? Ain't no more dragons over here in these mountains right here in the mountain wall. Okay, so you got to fly and get that free energy source from the president, so that way he can fly from here straight across non-stop and land in an area in this land right here, somewhere over here. And because the land of Mars is kind of desolate from the old wars that was happening here in these lands, from the Anunnakis and stuff. It was Anunnaki and us having wars all in these lands over here. Okay, custodians, everybody's a part of this war. Them, Nibiru, which is Marduk. Marduk is Anunnaki, became the king of Nibiru. You got the custodians, which is a mix of Anunnaki. You know what I'm saying? This is still Anunnaki lands, and of course, you got the children of Tiamat, which live here, which are Anunnaki bloodlines too. It's 13 different bloodlines, but they're all living in this areas that I just showed y'all. So, yeah, man. So the reason why they're trying to get up out of here is because Lilith is about to rise up to reclaim everything back. You know what I'm saying? She already took out, you know what I'm saying, the other leader, which is Enki, and now she's controlling the whole realm. So she's about to take control of the whole realm and basically put the prisoners back in prison. The people who are in prison are supposed to be the custodians of this land, right? So that's why majority of the people who are in prison are African American, but really they're supposed to be the custodians of this land, and the roles are supposed to be flipped. So these are the children of Tiamat in these lands. So that's why they're trying to get the hell up out of here. They got to get up out of here as fast as possible, but they're not taking everybody with them. They're only taking the elite, you know, and the other people, they're going to try to go to Greenland and, you know what I'm saying, and Canada to fly out, go with probably this Asgard, which is up here. Asgard's right here. They may try to fly up to Asgard, but Asgard not having it, man. You can only be from a royal bloodline if you live here. They got their own stuff going on right here, everywhere. They got their stuff going on everywhere, you know what I mean? Their own civilization. So, you know, if they think they're about to come to another civilization of Bogar with the technology that we have, they're toast. So the only choice they have is to fly to Mars. They can't go underwater, mermaids rule the waters. So they have to go fly across. It's the only choice. And they have to have a port here so they can go back and forth from Mars to Earth, right? And then they ain't going over here. That's a no-no. You know what I'm saying? Now they're nowhere else. Are they good at Lands of Draco? I don't think so. The only place close enough for them to reach is right here. So, I mean, but they got to get past all these goons right here, Hell's Gate right here, and I'm pretty sure it's all this area right here. So, it's a lot to cover.
This man says he was exiled from a land beyond the ice wall. Check this out, y'all.
Exiled from a land beyond the ice wall, and our realm is a prison.
Definitely different looking, y'all. Like from a movie. As always, thanks for watching and stay weird.
Just biodomes, fully functioning luxury cities, built for the wealthiest elites.
No way. Antarctica is a frozen wasteland. Who would even live there?
The kind of people who don't want to be found. Trillionaire-backed companies started pooling resources in the early 2000s to build the ultimate escape.
Escape from what?
The rest of the world. Geopolitical chaos, economic instability. While the world burns, they needed a safe haven. And these biodomes, they're pristine, no crime, unlimited resources, completely off the grid.
That's insane. How much does it cost to live there?
$100 million per year. And the general public, not allowed.
So you're telling me right now, hidden in Antarctica, there are futuristic utopias where the ultra-rich are just chilling while the rest of us...
Best kept secret of the elite. But hey, let's just say this is for entertainment purposes.
Wait, are you telling me there are actual...
Multi-World Center. I will explain. If our world had in that cloud, it would be very difficult to be reached from a distance. By another cloud being in the middle, it is more easily to be reached and worked by other civilizations. So it was a scheduled decision. Place our civilization at the center of the world because it is more easily reached from several sides of civilizations coming from different sides. This is a point. Solar system does not exist. Solar system is a holographic projection, placed here also by besiegers, and projected here on our owner's film. Our dome works like a holographic projector, built by besiegers. The dome was not built by and any civilization, but the modification made to it, yes, by the besiegers who live here. The besiegers world. That our civilization, she is not as evolved. There are others are more evolved. Because it is no longer evolved. Precisely because she is the most recent. She went through several resets, made by custodians. By the Anunnaks of Nibiru. So she is the latest. So the least evolved has other spiritual issues. But that's another point.
I'm saying back to them, like, just trust me. You guys don't understand, right? Like, we've been lied to. Trust me, you'll see what's ahead. They're going, buddy, you don't know what you're talking about. Oh, we're just going to come back up around the other side of the globe. You know, they're telling me we're going to hit the Indian Ocean, Australia, right? They were thinking in terms of the global model. But this is where it gets crazy, you know, as they realize I ain't stopping. One of the other pilots says to me, he goes, listen, you land that thing now, we sign an NDA and go home, act like this never happened. But go ahead, continue forward if you must, but just know it's a one-way ticket. You ain't ever coming back.
What did you do?
What I set out to. I could see the wall by this point. There was no turning back. And as I fly over the wall, the other jets behind me just hit wide pivots to turn around, And the pilot radios me one last time. He goes, "Crazy son of a good luck, kid." And I mean, look, I just soar off into no man's land. I'm baffled. I'm seeing land masses that have never been accounted for. The navigational equipment on the jet is no longer working, but I know as long as I stay due south, I'll reach Panthea. I'll reach the Dark Continent. And lo and behold, 30 or so hours later, sun goes down and it never comes back up. I start to drop my altitude to get a better view, and there she was. I saw the dark lands. I saw everything that Hemington had spoke of. Look, I landed the jet on a clear landscape, and before I even had a chance to get out, there they were. The Pantheans Hemington spoke of, stepping in slowly. I mean, they were literally surrounded.
In the winter of 1937, a military expedition vanished beyond the Antarctic shelf. No final report, no names recorded, only reels of damaged film recovered decades later. The footage shows what they found: a wall of ice stretching beyond the limits of geography, carved not by nature, but by something deliberate. And behind it, what appears to be a structure, an ice citadel etched with faces no historian can place. They made their way through the main passage, boots dragging across frost that hadn't melted in centuries. The first chamber held no furniture, no tools, only a black pedestal humming quietly as if waiting to be used. Further in, the rooms grew stranger, ceiling carvings that matched no known language, walls etched with symbols that glowed faintly under lantern light. And then they entered what the documents call the Celestial Room, a dome of perfect symmetry, star maps etched in mirrored eyes spanning constellations we have yet to name. They weren't just charting the sky, they were marking something, a path, a warning, a return. And now, after nearly a century, we have to ask, were they the first to find it or simply the last to disappear?
Yeah, so this is a transition from George's Bank to open water. It is tortured here in the middle of the ocean. Look, check out this water. And then in a second, it's just gonna be glassy clear. What the heck? This is crazy. What did we just go through here? That's insane.
Did you get a video?
Yeah.
You got it.
This is so weird. Over there.
The bizarre thing is there's like no change in depth. It went from like 57
What?
meters to 49.
What?
And then 50 meters to 49.
But I mean, that's like just a different world over there. What was that?
You have got to take photos of that.
Scientists reveal their strangest Antarctic discoveries yet. Scientists confirm what Google Earth had found years ago, past the ice wall, along with many strange creatures and even ancient aliens. But the possibilities of what is lurking beneath the ice is a source of great controversy.
You gotta be kidding me. These guys found the entrance to the ice wall right before I was about to go and discover it for myself in the Antarctic Ocean. I had just organized a group of 4 people out of the 5 that we need, but it looks like the race is on and these guys found it first. What is that over there? Did you see that? It looks like land past Antarctica. I've been saying this the entire time for over a year, especially after this photo got leaked, which is supposedly a drone shot of a city right next to the ice wall in Antarctica, and it is just described like what Admiral Byrd said when he flew over Antarctica 100 years ago, and he saw lush vegetation and new land nobody has ever seen before. But you know what? I can't be too mad at these guys because all they're doing is proving the rest of us right. We know that there's secret land out there that has been hidden from us. And I've been telling you, there's a new age that is about to occur, an age of exploration, and we're going to be expanding. There's going to be a huge boom in technology within the next few years. I'm calling it Just wait and see.
Rumors that behind the wall in Antarctica hide a whole unexplored city have been around for quite some time, but primary evidence that it exists appeared only recently and only in Darknet. As far as is known, Antarctica is considered the coldest and most unfavorable continent for any tourist. Monstrous wind gusts that literally knock people off their feet and impassable snowdrifts limit any travel for ordinary people. However, at the same time on the continent is located to an insane amount of equipment, of military and scientists from different countries. And such activity in Antarctica is not without reason. Everyone knows that there is an ice barrier, the length of which is thousands of kilometers. In some places of this barrier, there are tunnels where you can sail freely even on a huge ship. And just like that, they are very strictly guarded. And secretly from us, there's still work going on and something is being studied. However, these vague shots, which accidentally leaked into the network, shocked many people. This is not a Polar Explorer's base as it seems at first glance. When the video was brought as close as possible and the blurriness was removed, it was discovered that the footage showed a real ice metropolis.
So you're saying there's an entire country we don't know about?
What if I told you there's a part of the Earth no one's ever seen? At least, not the people you know. Everyone's stuck believing the Earth is this perfect little globe where sure you just stroll in a circle, and boom, you're back where you started. Cute idea, right? But tell me, why don't we just cross Antarctica? Oh, right, because nobody ever has. You think it's just this cold, useless slab of ice at the bottom of the world, but that's the lie. Antarctica, it's not just land, it's a wall, a barrier. It locks us inside the tiny part of the Earth we think we know. And what lies beyond, that's where things get interesting. The people in power, they know what's on the other side. They make sure you stay clueless like good little sheep, believing you live on 7 continents. But you've got no idea what's out there. Whole continents. Oceans bigger than the Pacific. And humans who have lived beyond that ice wall for centuries were nothing more than their experiment, caged inside this small, controlled space. That's the real reason no one lets you explore Antarctica. They don't want you wandering too far because once you cross that ice, you'd realize we're not in charge of this world at all.
Y'all check it out. I think this is worth listening to. This is Earth. This is where we are. These are the ice rings. This is the ancestral republic where the book was written. This woman was born beyond the ice walls. Her dad crossed this area into the land of Mars. There's a human colony here. And all these other lands like Saturn, Neptune, Anunnaki, custodians. Things were brought into here to this laboratory and they're experimented on and they're made into hybrids. And they send these things out to us on these experimentations, these creatures. Over here is the land of the reptilians, lands of Hydra. We got all the ice rings. And right here, second Earth, land of clones. And let me read you something. I'm going to go through this chapter real quick so you just can get a feel for the context of what's being said. Chapter 2, Mars. One of the most talked about planets in this last humanity and where more visits have been made since the beginning are the land of Mars, who have received several humans during the timeline and the different post-resetting beginnings. Today, there is a large colony of humans on Mars, also dominated by the custodians and the Anunnaki, but in a totally different way to the known lands, since those who are there is by pure merit, by performing different tasks against their own race to achieve their one-way passage with no return. As we commented in previous books, the navigator who crossed the ice walls and Terra Infinita, extraterrestrial worlds and their civilizations, R.E. Byrd, has been able to visit these lands on several occasions, and until the last thing that is known about him, he is still there living with his human colleagues in his gift for betraying his brothers. Although living in these lands has benefits such as being able to live 4 or 5 times more years than in the same land, not having the incredible amount of diseases that we have today in the known lands, and not having to worry about working or obtaining food as it is done here. It also has great negative points, like being in a permanent war with the neighboring races, the Greys, Orion lands, some draconian colony or also known as the Enemines, Draco lands. But also exist and existed are other races that were moved there during the conquest of the other worlds between the Custodians and the Anunnaki beings. This is what our Bird reported to the base after the first expedition that succeeded in crossing the extensive path between Antarctic Passage and the only one known today as Bird Passage. That leads to the famous Mars lands. Upon returning and making contact again with the operators who were attentively awaiting information to where the Rear Admiral really was, he told them that he had passed 2 membrane fields, but that he had encountered problems during the passage to Mars. These lands are not similar to ours, not even after the first membrane. There is a force that pushes you and imprisons you in the chest where you enter. It was a sensation that I've never felt before. This record was kept forever in the secret reports handled by the high military officials in the United States of America. Such was his confusion upon entering that he was also immediately visited by beings from Orion, who accompanied him until he stepped on the lands of Aria, the first lands near the passage, right there. Bird was accompanied by a member of the Custodians known as Nimrod, who obviously knew these lands very well, and he spoke with the beings that inhabit it, then gathered a human colony that at that time occupied another part of Area, but with the time and some conflicts with other beings had to take refuge and inhabit the island away from the mainland. Former politicians, members of important agencies, well-known characters from the past gave rise to one of the largest human gatherings within the misnamed Red Planet in this circle environment. There is no room for many humans, only a handful of those who did homework for the Custodians and earned their one-way ticket. While at first inhospitable lands for those who visited in the beginning, in recent times humans began to grow in numbers and adapted well to the island to carry on their development and allied communication with their neighbors. Having expanded their longevity, this leads them to beings that learn many tasks, which have much knowledge. Weapons technology of warfare is developed for attack and defense in conjunction with technology that was given to them by the Custodians in ancient times.
The hidden lands beyond the ice walls. Awakening truth. Let's have a little journey to the old map. This is just a glimpse of the known lands and the near lands. Did you know that there are other worlds and more lands to explore?
Stole a jet to see if there were really lands beyond the ice wall, to see if the things John Hemington spoke of, the Dark Continent, the Pantheons, actually existed.
Exactly. Look, I had nothing to lose. And so I'm standing outside a maximum security fence at 3 or 4 o'clock in the morning, masked up. You know, I'm just trying to spot any possible security, but I cut the fence and make my way in. And as I shattered the glass to get into the building, this alarm just starts blaring, and I'm thinking, hell, if there wasn't security on shift yet, they're definitely on their way now, right? And so I'm just sprinting down the hall, hearts racing, until I find the aerial control department, and I just grab the first badge I see off the aircraft key card repository. And as I sprint back out to the flight line to get on one of these jets, I see the facility's security personnel just flushing the place. And I mean, I've got good distance, but they're on my tail. And so as I jump inside a jet and start initializing the engine, I'm seeing security literally just sprint head on in my direction. But I mean, look, I wasn't stopping. I was in too deep at this point. Where it really had gotten out of control, right, was as I start to take off down the airstrip, I see one of the other jets behind me start to rev up. And I'm just thinking to myself, like, I hope these people are ready for the jet chase of the century, because I ain't landing until I'm 1,000 miles beyond the ice wall.
You're out of your mind, man.
Look, it gets to a point, I'm flying south over the Antarctic Ocean. I've got 2 or 3 of these other jets behind me. They're kind of radioing me on the traffic control, just threatening me, begging me to land. I'm saying back to them, like, just trust me. You guys don't understand, right? Like, we've been lied to. Trust me, you'll see what's ahead. They're going, buddy, you don't know what you're talking about. Oh, we're just going to come back up around the other side of the globe. You know, they're telling me we're going to hit the Indian Ocean, Australia, right? They were thinking in terms of the global model. But this is where it gets crazy. You know, as they realize I ain't stopping, one of the other pilots says to me, he goes, listen, you land that thing now, we sign an NDA and go home, act like this never happened. But go ahead, continue forward if you must, but just know it's a one-way ticket. You ain't ever coming back.
What did you do?
What I set out to. I could see the wall by this point. There was no turning back. And as I fly over the wall, the other jets behind me just hit wide pivots to turn around, and the pilot radios me one last time. He goes, crazy son of a bitch. Good luck, kid. And I mean, look, I just soar off into no man's land. I'm baffled. I'm seeing land masses that have never been accounted for. The navigational equipment on the jet is no longer working, but I know as long as I stay due south, I'll reach Panthea. I'll reach the Dark Continent. And lo and behold, 30 or so hours later, sun goes down and it never comes back up. I start to drop my altitude to get a better view, and there she was. I saw the dark lands. I saw everything that Hemington had spoke of. Look, I landed the jet on a clear landscape, and before I even had a chance to get out, there they were. The Pantheons Hemington spoke of, stepping in slowly. I mean, they were literally surrounding the aircraft. You know, I'm thinking, what the hell are they doing, right? And as I'm getting ready to power up the engine, I can't move a muscle.
What do you mean?
I couldn't move if I'd wanted to. I believe they'd had some sort of control over my central nervous system. Their biofield was just so disproportionately powerful.
That's impossible.
Listen, when an electromagnetic broadcast is strong enough, it can influence another. Okay, it's like an EMP on your nervous system.
What happened?
As they got closer, it got stronger. I felt them probing my mind, wanting to know who I was, where I came from. They saw everything.
What did they want?
My hands started moving against my will and pulled the lever to release the airlock on the door of the jet. 8 or 9 of them came on board.
My God.
As my hands went through the motions of initializing takeoff, I realized what they wanted.
You brought them back here.
At that point, I had no choice.
So you're telling me this guy flew over the ice wall with a jet he'd stolen from the research facility he worked for, and not only found this dark continent with zero sunlight, but encountered an anatomically derivative species of humans.
Exactly.
And because he allegedly streamed it live, you just take it as irrefutable evidence that it's true.
Not at all. Look, after I'd went down this rabbit hole, I realized that I just had to go ahead and see it for myself. And I mean, look, say what you want, but John Hemington was never seen again, okay? Which would make sense based on the horrific events that his stream ended with. But look, I found out the exact research center that he worked for. Okay, I knew that if I wanted to get over that ice wall, that company's jets were the only thing that'd do it.
You're a pilot?
Excuse me? Of course I am. Why the hell do you think I take such an interest in this type of stuff? Look, regardless, I find the address of the research and development center that John worked for, okay, where they have these privately patented jets. Okay, and I mask up like I'm hitting a lick back in '85 and make my way over to the facility. In my mind, I'm ready to get over that ice wall and land on that dark continent tonight.
So, what happened?
A 500-year-old ice wall map has just been discovered, and this might be the best one yet because it fits a lot of the missing pieces together that we've had for a while. Now look at this. This is supposed to be Antarctica, but it's all green because it was 500 years ago, and it was at a time when the world was much warmer and there were no winters anywhere. And there's so much detail. These people, they drew exactly what they saw, and they saw all these creatures on these other continents. And this relates to the the flat earth German map from the 1940s that they used when they went out and discovered what was going on in Antarctica. And they mapped it all out. And this relates exactly to that map. And this even has Agartha right in the center. It actually shows the continent there. And this is the flat earth German map from the 1940s, which shows where they went out on expeditions back then to Antarctica, and they mapped out everything that they found. But since this is almost 500 years later compared to the other map I just showed you, these other continents are now frozen over by ice sheets because everything freezes over time. But I don't have an animation to show how that works. But this map right here is supposed to be a moon map reflection, and that is just the moon. They say that the moon acts like a map to everybody on Earth, and this is a reflection of everything, and it shows where all of our continents are. It's really hard to explain without animation, but I just saw a lot of similarities between this map and the other one, and no one has pointed this out yet. And this is the highest resolution image that I could find of this map, but if you look closely, if you zoom in, you'll see all these different kind of creatures. That looks like a dinosaur. How'd they even know those existed 500 years ago unless they actually saw them and all these other type of creatures that used to be around? It kind of proves what I've been saying this entire time about all these ancient creatures that the medieval people wrote about. They wrote about exactly what they saw, and these had to be real, otherwise we wouldn't have so many stories about them.
Why do 90% of explorers never return from the ice caps? The story you're about to hear might just explain why. Deep in the frozen heart of our planet lies a colossal ice wall shrouded in mystery and danger. It hides a secret humanity could never have imagined. An ancient civilization thriving beneath the icy veil. A young explorer, driven by relentless curiosity, breached this icy barrier, uncovering both wonders and horrors. Picture this: cities flourishing under the ice, ancient artifacts from Egypt, Greece and China, perfectly preserved. Their technology is 300 years ahead of ours, allowing control over nature itself, earthquakes, volcanoes, even the weather. Flying vehicles that defy gravity, medical breakthroughs that halt aging, and artificial intelligence with capabilities far beyond our own. But behind this breathtaking beauty lies a darker truth. An empire with unmatched power collaborating with our world's elite to control both realms. As their army looms, secrets unfold, shocking revelations of their intent and their ties to the very governments we trust. Imagine the awe, the wonder, and the chilling reality of a world where the line between ally and enemy blurs. This hidden ice civilization is not just a marvel, it's a cautionary tale of power, control, and the unknown. Stay curious, but remember, some secrets are hidden for a reason.
You've just seen the viral clips they don't want you thinking about. Maps that don't make sense, lands that aren't supposed to exist, and a wall of ice that might be hiding everything. If the truth is out there, maybe it's not out in space, but out past the edge, past the lies, past the wall. This was Cold as Hell TV. Stay curious, stay cold, and whatever you do, don't stop looking.